to the crossover. My name is Stephanie from Dope Soul Sports Talk and the Queen's Court.
And I'm Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises, and this is the crossover.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot to talk about today. If you saw in the description, this is the crossover show. We're going to talk about a lot of the storylines that we've talked about across the NBK network of shows. Some shows I wasn't there. I didn't get a chance to comment on. Some shows Tony wasn't there. He didn't get a chance to comment on. We also going to drop the link in the chat so that you can give us your take on some of those issues. And then also our take may have evolved over time. I may have said something on one show, and after listening to other panelists and listening to you guys in the chat, now I think differently about it. I don't think so today, but it's possible. So anyway, Tony, let's get into it. How you feeling today?
What's going on, Queen? Shout out to the chat. The
Definitely.
blackest time. I'm good. Another week. We made it through another week, and
Absolutely.
I'm ready to get this thing going.
Yeah, let's get into it. Now, I know you and Sim did a show, Donovan or Bust, and basically you guys, the question Sim asked was, is this really a stalemate between the New York Knicks and the Utah Jazz, or is Utah just posturing, hoping to call New York's bluff, get them to accept, whatever they're asking for. We heard later on that there are six other teams that's in the mix for Donovan Mitchell. Is that really true? Or is that, was just put out there on the part of Utah to, I don't know, increase the urgency of the Knicks to get something done? I think both, and I heard you talking about this, have a timeline that they want to get it done. I think Utah doesn't want to bring Donovan Mitchell into training camp given all that's happened thus far. And I think the Knicks, I don't think their timeline is necessarily training camp. I think their timeline started when they got here. And I think basically, they were collecting assets for this moment, and this moment is here, and they're going to do their due diligence and they want to get it done. I believe that the holdup is, you know, I think the question they continue to ask themselves is not so much, wow, they asking for five this, they asking for three this. I think the holdup is, if we do this, no matter what the trade package is, if we do this, will we have enough left to continue to upgrade this team? If we do this package, will this leave us in a little better position to upgrade the team? Because I think they're aware, as we all are, that Donovan Mitchell by himself doesn't make the Knicks, in my opinion, championship contenders. I think it does put us into the playoffs. We did the Queen's Court ceiling or floor with or without Donovan Mitchell. I think it does put us in that top six, in my opinion. Does it make us championship contenders? I think there's more work to be done. I think the Knicks realize that. And I think that's what they're considering also with this trade. Otherwise, it would have been done already.
What was 6 seed your floor or your ceiling with Donovan Mitchell?
Oh, that's it. I could see, I think
You had
top
you. I
six.
think you had
Top
at the
six.
floor, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. At the ceiling.
yeah, I would say top six. It could be five. It could be anywhere. But I could see a scenario where the Knicks finish 7 or 8 if certain things don't break right. Because again, it's a clunky lineup with Donovan Mitchell in there. The shooting, the spacing is not quite optimal in my opinion. And so I can see where the offense doesn't flow and, you know, they don't click or gel that first season. So I could see a scenario where they finish 7 and 8 because of chemistry issues and fit issues. But I think talent wise, I think it's a top 16, but chemistry and gelling matters.
Yeah, it may take some time to, and maybe a
It
slow
matters.
start.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've actually gotten off to slow starts historically under Tibbs.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows if that is Tibbs or if that is the roster change each year,
Mm-hmm.
even though it hasn't been a tremendous turnover each year. It's usually about
Right.
two to three guys,
Right.
but that may take its toll with this Well, we don't know. We don't know if it's Tibbs or it's just happened to be that way. We may jump off to a early start. We,
This is what I will say in terms of the offense as it relates to Tibbs. I think there's going to be changes, but if not, I think it's going to flow better because Brunson is there. Like Tibbs runs this read and react offense, and I believe you have to have a certain type of player to run that offense. You got to have players that not just understand the game of basketball, but can execute it. They're patient. They're looking for opportunities. I just don't think the Knicks were that type of team. And I think bringing Brunson in with his higher IQ, bringing Donovan Mitchell in, if we're able to do that, I think the offense would run a little different. Because basically, you're leaving it up to the players to read the defense and make the play. So you got to
true.
have smart players. You got to have, not that they're not smart, but it's a different level of IQ with to be in terms of reading the defense. And I get it. Some people will say, and myself as well, it's basketball. Like it shouldn't be hard. It's basketball. You've been playing it all your life. But for the group of players we had, particularly Randall, it was hard. It looked hard watching him. And
And
I do think him being in a non give us a minute, Jason. Him being in um, a non-facilitating role, I think just that is going to make the offense run crisper and smoother. And having Brunson in that main role, not that Randall's not going to ever handle the ball, the offense is going to be better. You agree or disagree? Or do you think there has
I
to be a revamping of the offense?
no, I agree definitely in the sense that it'll get easier or the non facilitating role or non ball handling role from Randall
Hmm.
will help him. But on top of that, being able to one less double teaming is going to help him, and then the
Hmm.
fact that if you double team, it's really going to be pick your poison. You know what I mean? Because we have guys that can, I'm gonna say, shoot off the bounce. Maybe not that being their strength, but they can also create off the dribble and finish plays behind that. So I think overall it's a lot of pick your poison with this team,
Hmm.
and that's gonna probably be the determining factor more than anything else when you have
Hmm.
a good team. Um, I think it's less about who. I think the defense determines the outcome offensively, and we have enough weapons that yeah, we should be able to figure it out every night.
Right. Now, we probably shouldn't have dropped the link so early because we've yet to get into our the beef of the show, and I definitely want to make sure when the guests come on that they're talking about what we're talking about and not going off on some other tangent. So right now we're talking about Donovan or bust. Is it really a stalemate, or between Utah and New York, or do you think there's a lot of posturing going on, or what do you think is the hold up on the trade? So we're going to bring Jason in, and hopefully he can speak to that topic. Then we'll drop the link a little later once we've talked about a few things, so then you guys can have your pick of what you want to talk about.
All right,
Yeah.
salute,
Hello.
welcome,
Salute,
Hello.
salute. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
good,
Not
appreciate
bad,
you.
not bad. Thank you. Long time listener. Always blessed to hear about news about what's going on, even when there's no games going on. So it's great. I appreciate that.
All right.
Um, Now, as far as what you're discussing, um, I've heard from other podcasts about possibly that. And there might be more so like on the Utah side, maybe Danny Ainge is holding back on trying to pull the trigger on what Leon Rose is offering. So maybe he doesn't like it, um, but I think we all just need to have some patience on that because um, look what happened with Leon Rose during the draft. I mean, no one knew no one had any any information about what was going to happen in the 11th pick, and then boom, it dropped like a bomb when it got traded, and then not even the announcers, no one knew about it. So I'm thinking that's what we just need to have some patience, and we gotta trust on the Don. We know that he's gonna be making some moves that no one else is probably gonna be trying to uh, forecast and all that. And I don't pay too much attention to the other news out there and this and that. Maybe it might even be 4 picks, and that's what Danny Ainge is having to ponder about whether he should, pull the trigger or not. Who knows?
Right.
Let,
I mean,
let
you
me.
bring up. Go ahead.
I just want to ask real quick. Do you think these 6 other teams that were mentioned? Do you think they're a legitimate threat, or do you think it was something that maybe got leaked to put pressure on the Knicks?
Um, I think he's just trying. Danny is trying to get the Knicks to, start shaking and wondering whether they're going to be, you know, uh, get nervous and add more picks, or maybe replace a player, because we all know that the one that they want is our main guy from the summer league, the one that had the high score and all that. So I mean that's what I think that Mr. Ainge is trying to do, is trying to get the Knicks to get nervous and start making some drastic move offers and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But it's like what you guys have mentioned. It's I think the Knicks are going to stay where they're at and see what happens in the end. I honestly don't think anyone else is going to offer better than what we're offering.
You bring up a good point, and I never thought of it that way. That the ball is in Ainge court, and Danny Ainge is pondering the Knicks offer, whether or not he should take it. Like that offer is on the table, and should he take it? He's probably looking around, see what others is offered before he make his decision. So yeah, that's a good take on it.
Right. So that's why I'd rather not even. It's great to for us Knicks fans, we're always looking up for other podcasts or other type of media source so we can get more details and all that stuff. So because we want this to go down, but I think, I mean, all the stuff that Leon has been doing so far has been magnificent. I mean, I just think we just have to continue on to allow him to play his chess game, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna come through for us.
All
That's
right.
what I wanted to say.
Appreciate.
All right.
Well,
I
what's your
appreciate you.
name again?
I'm Jason.
Jason.
Jason from the Heights.
Appreciate you,
All
man.
right.
Thanks for joining. Come back later if you want to cover another topic.
Sounds
Yes.
good. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. You're welcome. Bye bye. Yeah, I mean it's a good point. That the Knicks may have put in there close to final offer, because I don't think anything is ever final, but they're close to final offer, and Danny Ainge is contemplating whether he want to take that, and he's looking around and see if he can find something better. I mean, I think Josh, shout out to Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, said something, and that is you can overplay your hand, or you could be so, I don't know what the word is, in your negotiations, that they even take a lesser deal, a little lesser deal, because they don't want to deal with you. You
Mm,
know what I mean?
mm.
So I think, you got to be diplomatic in these type of dealings as well, because you don't want to turn the other side off to the point where they don't even want to deal with you. Like sometimes, I don't know if you've ever been in bartering with somebody and they come with such a low, or you'd be like, come on, like fantasy basketball, and they think you stupid, and they want Giannis, and they trying to give you Drew Holiday and Jason Clarkson. You know what I mean? I mean Jordan Clarkson, like something like that. Now you so pissed off with them. I don't even care what you offering the next time. I'm not taking it. You know
I'm
what
not
I
even
mean?
looking at the offer.
I'm not even looking at it because you think I'm stupid. So yeah.
Oh man, I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? Oh, these teams. Do you have the list of teams that have been rumored to?
Um,
Um, because I'll give you my point.
Sacramento. I do.
Orlando.
Was it? I don't know. Was Orlando on the list?
I'm pretty sure I saw Orlando on there. But
Is Orlando ready at this? Well, that's their business. That's their business. So yeah, I do have the other teams.
because I am starting to believe that they are a threat,
Really?
and I'm going based off the list. I see Dirty Dancer has a list up here. I remember Toronto being on there, correct? Washington Wizards,
Mm-hmm.
Hornets,
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, Miami, and the Hawks. Okay, the Hawks I don't believe based off of what they just pulled off. I don't think he's a need. Charlotte I could see. Miami we already know is true. Sacramento I can see. Toronto I can see, and Washington it's it's not far fetched. And I'll start with I'll take Miami out of it for a second because I think I'll talk about Miami and Toronto last. But for those lower level teams,
Mm-hmm.
or middle of the field teams, depending on how you feel or even how they feel, right?
Right.
Charlotte, they don't know what's going on with this their small forward, right? Um, without them, that's 20 points a game. You know what I mean? That they have to replace, regardless of what. I think Melo at his size and Donovan with his lack of size, um, kind of makes it I don't want to say a seamless fit, but you don't have to worry about the same type of things as
Mm-hmm.
far as switchability and that nature. Um, and they need somebody to kind of keep Melo long term, right? Kind of entice him to so he's not looking to move on once that time is eligible, or as we see, stars can ask out at any time they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I see that as a fit. Um,
But the thing about it, it's a fit. But even though they have the need, dude, are they assets as good as the Knicks?
well, the assets that they're looking for a draft pick, right? And I hear the argument of, all right, historically, whose pick would you want over the next couple of years? But I don't understand how you say historically, but you're projecting into the future. Sometimes that makes sense. In draft picks, or in this situation, I don't think it does because I think no matter where Donovan goes, the team has to project to be better, right? So you can't project their draft pick. You can't look at their past draft picks and project what their futures are because the future picks should be better. And I think they have the assets as far as the picks.
Picks and young players. But what picks? They don't have as much picks as the only team that has as much picks unprotected and protected as the Knicks, as far as I understand, is OKC. Now they may
Okay,
have their four unprotected, but do they have the three protected? Which two of them are not heavily protected, and do they have the young talent?
I think all of these teams have the four
Mm-hmm.
of their own. Um, and I think if they don't have someone else's extra picks, I think that's where swaps come in play. I think they're just as valuable as a protected pick. Actually, I'll argue that a swap is more valuable than a protected pick because if you have the option to swap, it don't matter. I don't know if there's protections on swaps, so I'm assuming there isn't. So which means if you got a 5 pick and I have 15 and I got the swap option, obviously I'm taking it. If there's a protection, it's probably at the very least 1 through 4, 1 through 5 protected. So that limits my ability or me wanting to swap. So
But even with the swaps, though, if you're getting Donovan Mitchell, what are the swaps going to be? If you're getting Donovan Mitchell, you're not finishing in the top four. I mean, you're not going to,
I
you
mean
know.
that's my argument for us and for any other team.
No, I get what you're
You
trying
know
to
what I
say,
mean?
but we have those three protected. So So they other teams, I get what you're saying, but we could be equal with other teams when it comes to the four unprotected picks and when it comes to the pick swaps. Everybody's equal. I get
Mhm.
that. But we also have the three protected picks. One is just 1 through 4, Milwaukee. One is 1 through 10, Dallas. Those two, I believe, will convey. And the
I,
young players on our roster,
is there a limit on swaps that you can offer?
I'm not
Because
sure.
I don't believe there is, and that's what I'm saying. If teams are willing to substitute what we can offer in protected picks for the option to swap, then it don't matter how many. You know what I mean? Then it kind of balances
But
itself
we
out.
have that too and the swaps. Like no matter what they can do with swaps, we could do the same thing.
Agreed, agreed. But that doesn't
Yeah.
make them less of a threat.
I'm not saying it makes them less of a threat, but I think no matter what, we got the best package, including the young people. But I hear what you're saying. But that's why I'm saying the Knicks stance in these trades, I hope is very diplomatic. Because if they're pissing Utah off and another team is close, they may just go with what's close because they don't want to deal with the Knicks.
But same thing with Washington or Sacramento. Sacramento made the moves last year because they're trying to win, right? They're not trying to be they're not trying to tank. So just as far as motive to try to pull these trades off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stay there because assets wise, yeah, we have the most. But if we have a cutoff point, then it don't matter what we have. It's about what we're willing to do. So I do think all of these teams are a threat for the same reason. Washington Wizards, I think they want to win. I don't think they're just satisfied with locking up Bradley Beal and saying, all right, we got him. We didn't lose our guy who we drafted. You know what I mean? I think ultimately they want to get better and win. Now,
Who can Washington give other than their
I was
picks?
going to say it's probably hardest for them,
Right.
depending on how they feel about a KP, but we don't know. No matter what, Boston has to take somebody back, right? Whether it's with us,
Kind of.
whether it's with
I
what
mean
I
Utah,
mean
but
Utah.
usually
Excuse me.
with one year or so left, right? They don't want to be stuck with a contract. And if I'm them, I don't want a KP who may help me win more games than if I brought in a Fournier.
I mean, maybe it really depends on how they feel. They may say, "Hey, we might be able to get KP. He might not play 82 games. Fournier might, so Fournier might win us more games. You know what I mean? Like it's really about. I wouldn't undervalue
Don't
these
be too
other
confident.
exactly
Don't be too
these
confident
other
if you're the
teams.
Knicks that these other teams aren't a
Yeah,
threat.
they may like Fox. Fox may be offered. I doubt it, but he may be young enough to where they say, "All right, we could do this." And I don't know, or let's say not Fox, the other guy, Mitchell,
Mitchell,
the guy behind him who
right?
has more time and more time to grow. You know what I mean? Maybe fits better with a timeline of
Mm-hmm.
finding people in the draft to match him with. So I think there's options out there for them.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't undermine their ability to pull it off.
Right. Don't get too
Toronto,
confident. You
Toronto, we
sitting
seen
there
what
and
they
you
did
hear
with
that there's a trade done.
we
you
see what
know?
Toronto did with Kawhi. Not comparing the two talent, but
Right.
you know they're ballsy enough to go out there and make something happen if they
Right.
believe. You know what I mean? If they believe it'll make them better. So I think these
Sexton
guys are
doesn't
true
move the needle
threats.
to me, Gregory Lee.
Mm. Um, I did have. Excuse me. I did have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, and I don't want to hold it till next week, so I'm gonna just
Mm-hmm.
propose it now. Um, Thoughts on SGA? I know there's no word out that he is available or would be available, but prior to 2 weeks ago, there was no talk about Donovan being available either.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
If they both were available, SGA, Donovan Mitchell, what would your preference be? And regardless of that answer, you can answer the second one second. Um, if the price happened to be cheaper for SGA, would that change your answer to number one?
It wouldn't. Number two wouldn't change my answer to number one, and I would still prefer Donovan Mitchell over SGA, for the reason that I've seen Donovan Mitchell perform in this league on a high level. I've seen SGA have good games. You know,
Mm,
I seen him perform with the Clippers when Chris Paul was there. You know what I mean? So I think there's a difference when you're able to be the number one guy and show up, and when you're having a good playoff series or good games, on a team that's not so great. You know, there's no. I think Donovan Mitchell, if he's not already, can be a star. SGA might be as well, but I would want more of the sure thing. Um,
I, mm. I'm not gonna say I disagree with you
mhm,
in your answer, but to take a little bit, I I, I think it's a little bit of recency bias
mhm.
because or maybe I don't know if you were familiar with SGA prior to playing with
That's what I said when he played with the Clippers, but he was there with um he wasn't the number one guy on that team.
I think he kind of was emerging as that um organically, like you know what I mean, like he was in the sense of Grimes earning his position, but to a larger extent, a way larger extent. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Hmm.
given to him; he took it. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
and then the performance in OKC immediately was same type of deal where counted out and still perform.
But Chris Paul was the driver of that team, though.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no denying that, but a huge part of it. You know what I mean? Um, my question, because I liken him. I think a good comparison would be maybe like Maxi and his emergence. Um, so my question would be like, how would you feel about Maxi? Um, but I also feel like Maxi hasn't had the same opportunity. But it's the same type of thing with the guys around him. Do you think the guys around him are making him or allowing him to play to the level that he's played, or do you think Maxi is who he is?
No, I think with Maxi and SGA, you don't know.
Okay.
You don't know. Like it could be that they like Maxi goes on another team and becomes a number one guy, like Harden when he left, OKC. You never know when a guy is playing behind those guys. Is he really a star and just hasn't had the opportunity, or is he shining because the spotlight is not on him and he could play off of those guys? You never know. What I'm saying is my
I know you've
preference would
seen it.
be the known quantity over what could be. I'm not saying SGA won't, because he very well may.
I think I would probably pick Donovan as well for my first question.
Mhm.
My second question that might change things. Um,
And Donovan
but
makes
even
less money than SGA.
at that point, the money. I'm talking about game and talent.
Yeah.
And granted, he hasn't. You're right. We haven't seen it by himself, but at the same time, Donovan's played with some people. You know what I mean? Like not to the caliber of a Chris Paul, but I think you can make the argument that the overall team, have been better surrounding Donovan than SGA. Um, but the reason it makes me a tougher question to just immediately say Donovan is Again, it goes back to that fit. It's the same argument I had with the Mitchell thing, Murray thing. Excuse me. I thought it was just a better fit. You know what I mean? I
The
think
only thing I'll say, go ahead, no,
SGA would. I
finish.
just think SGA would. I can't even say better fit. I'll have less concerns.
Right. This is what I say about fit. When you're bringing in a player who's better than anybody on your team, fit doesn't even matter. The he's the best player. So the Knicks would then be charged with finding players that
Mm-hmm.
fit with
Yeah,
him,
agreed.
as opposed to we're not going to bring him in because he don't fit with the he would be your best player. So
You don't think SGA would be our best player if we brought him in?
nah, I don't know if he would be better than Randall. I would I would have to see a bit more, but
Fair enough.
you can even argue that he's not. Some people would argue that he's not even better than RJ. I would say he is because he's just a little further along right now in his game and in his skill set. But it doesn't mean it will always be that way.
So we got
Yeah.
somebody
It
struggling to
says
get in.
device not connected, so
Yeah.
gotta wait.
Um.
Um,
Go ahead.
no,
Shout out to the chat.
anything else on?
I was just gonna throw a comment up there. He says the longer age leaves Spider, he'll start to look, but he
He'll stay
starts
on
on
their books, maybe.
and start losing the amount he can get in this trade. Um, I agree that he needs to get it done before the start of the off season. I feel like he needs to get it done before the start of the off season more than we do. But other teams and other teams' interests
Hmm.
changes that perspective because the more teams that are showing interest, the more teams that are willing to amend their package and what they're willing to give up, the more difficult it becomes for us, or the more we're gonna have to do the same. I'll say that to stay
Right.
in the running.
Khalid, what is it? Khalid or Khalid Thompson. If RJ was the main guy, I believe he would be better than SGA. Maybe. The only thing I would say is skill set and just. I mean, I would have to look over the stats and things like that. Maybe, maybe.
Yeah,
And
and
one thing to remember, Tony, let me just say this real quick, with being the main guy, you have to be able to perform with the opposing team keying on you. That's the difference. A lot of times we'll look at guys who's breaking out in a reserve role or in a secondary role and believe that they're going to be able to do that exact same thing in a primary role. They might not. So you just don't know until they're in that position.
I'm sorry. Um, I'm laughing because I'm gonna find it. Punch Nice. He says,
Eric Stenson Sr., I think he
there we
can
go.
play both point guard or shooting guard, SGA.
He said we gotta get this deal done because Fed's just talking now. I mean, it's part of the job, man. It's part of the job. Um, and I mean, I think RJ's gonna get his chance or take his chance, one or the other. You know what I mean? And I have all the confidence in the world in him. But I've watched a lot of SGA, and I've been high on him. Prior to him even going to OKC. I think he's gonna be a star. I think it's a tough thing to go from one proving your value amongst a underdog team, a team that didn't have expectation, and kind of showing yourself there, then getting some expectation and proving it there, and then getting traded to a team where you're supposed to be the main guy no vets, no, you know what I mean? Like, you're the vet now. That's a big transition. You know what I mean? And unless you have that guy playing with you, whether he's a rookie or not, it's gonna be a hard thing to do, to mentor young kids when you're a young kid yourself. You just happen to be a standout. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
hear you. I will say this: SGA never did it for me, and I'm not taking away anything from his talent and everything you said. Everything you said is true, but some players, for whatever reason, you watch and they do it for you, and then there's other players you watch and they just don't do anything for you, even though their stats and their
mm-hmm.
game is legit, and SGA stats and his game is legit, but for whatever reason, he just doesn't excite me.
He was my he like I felt about Sohan. You know what I mean? You liked Sohan. I was like,
Yeah,
he's all right.
yeah, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to highlight this. RW, appreciate you rocking with us. I want Desmond Bain, a better shooter than Donovan, 6'5", good D, and should come cheaper. At least kick the tires on that deal and make Ainge think twice. I don't think Desmond Bain would make Danny Ainge think twice. I don't see Star and Desmond Bain. However, I could be wrong. We just talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're playing with a guy, you don't get those touches. You're not the focal point of the offense. So it remains to be seen whether you can be that
So
guy.
what's the riskier move as a front office guy, right? What's the riskier move? Taking the talent and saying, I'm gonna figure out the fit and work on adjust that afterwards, or seeing the talent in somebody and knowing the fit is better and taking that chance on that guy that hasn't proved it yet, as opposed to the guy that proved it, but I know I'm gonna have to move some things around and, you know what I mean, change, do
Right.
some renovation to make it right. Because I
I think
think
the latter one is
that's what makes a GM. Or
right. I think the latter one is more risky because you swinging. And if that guy who you see talent in and you think can be a number one doesn't become that, I think that's riskier than going for somebody who you know is a star. It's happened all the time. They'll when teams will bring in a star, and 3 years down the line, there's nobody from that team left but the star because they knew they had to rebuild a team around him.
well, the reason, I guess it all depends too, because part of the risk I think becomes the money and becomes how long you have the guy under contract for how much, and what you gave up to get him. That's all part of the the risk reward thing. Because if you're talking about a guy that may be half the price dollar wise for the same amount of years, and half the assets that you're giving up to get him, that doesn't that weigh out? Doesn't that kind of even out? No, because
Not for me.
it's all about
Listen,
the end
you
product, the
not
winning or losing.
winning in this league without. I don't even think it's one anymore. If you got one star, the rest of the players have to be twos. Otherwise, you need two stars to win in this league, and it's going to cost. Whether that's you drafted them and it cost in terms of money, and they're taking up a significant part of your cap space, or it's going to cost you assets to go and get them. You're not winning in this league without a star. Period. It's just not happening. You look at everybody who's made the playoffs, they have a star or a budding star on that team.
Yeah, I'm,
You know,
I'll say that definitely. I was gonna go back to budding star because, but
like New Orleans. I think Brandon Ingram is a budding star.
no, that's fair. That is
And
fair.
hopefully they can't afford him. You know, with But they'll have his bird right, so they'll be able to go over the cap to keep him.
Yeah, they will send us Zion before they send us Ingram.
It depends.
I
If
mean,
Zion
granted,
stays,
82 games that changes things.
yeah, that changes things. Yeah.
Oh man, what other topics we had?
I wanted
And
to talk.
I'm
This
gonna
was
drop the link
related to.
again.
Yeah,
See if
this is
anybody
related
wants.
to Donovan Mitchell. Shout out to Andy who did a show this week. Him and Josh, and I believe you was on that show as well. And they talked about the proposed three-team trade between the Knicks, Lakers, and Utah, involving Randall and Russell Westbrook. I wasn't on that show, so I didn't get a chance to comment. And basically, it was why would we do it? And I think it came up that for the cap space for next season, and then also that we would give up less in the Donovan Mitchell trade because other teams, Utah and the Lakers would. I mean, the Lakers would also be giving Utah. I don't even know
The
what
first round
picks.
pick,
Uh, 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 you know, a,
2027.
a 2027 first round pick for me. And I know this is a very unpopular take. I would prefer Randall over the cap space because I just feel like when you look at the 2023 free agency class, first of all, if you sign RJ Barrett to an extension, I'm not even sure you're going to have that full 47 million, right? And I'm not even sure. You would actually have to keep not sign RJ Barrett, have that 47 million, sign your free agent, and then sign Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe once you sign Barrett, I don't believe you're gonna still have that 47 million um from Russell Westbrook. My preference would be keep Randall. You can always trade him later. Build a
Package
second
around him.
trade around Randall and get a second star. For me, when it comes to the Knicks, I'm really over the Knicks landing a star in free agency. Either those stars re-sign with their teams and they don't even make it. They sign the extension, they don't even make it to free agency, right? Or they make it to free agency and they don't want to sign with the Knicks. We've done that. We've had cap space. I think it was 2 years ago, a few years before that. We weren't able to do anything with it. So for me, I feel like if the Knicks want to get a star, they're gonna have to trade for one. I really don't see one walking in the door. Now, if we're able to get Donovan Mitchell, maybe that changes. Maybe if we make it to free agency with some cap space, somebody would want to come and play with him. But that just hasn't been the Knicks' luck. So I say whatever we have left
That
from
the
the Donovan
spam is
Mitchell
back.
trade. Okay, from the Donovan Mitchell's trade, just make another trade. I got it. Just make another trade. But anyway, we dropped the link. If anybody else wanna hop on it and give your Harry Cox asked us if we don't land Donovan, who's the next option. I think we just go into the season with what we have.
Well, Queen doesn't, but I like SGA. I like
I don't think he's available though,
yeah.
but he
What,
might
what,
be. But you know what?
what,
When I looked at that summer league team and I saw Gideon Chet, I said, you know what? You got a center or power forward, and you got a point guard, and you got $30 million tied up in SGA. Why? You
yeah.
got Jalen Williams. You got, maybe maybe they do trade them and build around those two guys.
And 3 weeks ago, we would have never thought the Spurs was trading Murray, and 2 weeks ago, we would have never thought Donovan Mitchell was on the trading block.
Mhm.
And we have, I think we have with OKC once more than we have with Ainge once, and we could probably give him less. But and sometimes you just gotta be aggressive. We talked about that in the past. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Make the
A lot
offer.
of businesses were sold and they wasn't planning on, but somebody came in with an incredible offer
And
and they sold the business. So
there
it
you go.
happens.
But he's on my list. Um, you got anybody in mind? I gotta think for a second. to come up with another guy that
Sure, there's a lot of guys I
I
like. I don't
mean,
think they're available. I would
same
love
thing.
Brandon Ingram
Bi,
on this
yeah,
team.
Bi.
I don't think he's available.
Um,
Um,
are you not sold on Wiggins?
I'm not sold on. The Knicks need a star. I see him as a piece on a championship team, just like he was to Golden State.
I hear you. I hear you. But I don't think he's peaked.
You don't think? Wow.
I don't
Okay.
think he's peaked. I think he learned something in Golden State more about sacrifice than anything else. Um, but the reason I would pick him and put him on my list is because what he does defensively is you know what I mean, is something we need. You know what I mean? So even if he doesn't become a guy that's scoring 30 points a game, I'm okay with that. If he's scoring 20 and keeping the best guy on the other team under their average, you know what I mean, contained.
But that's RJ's role.
I mean, I'm sorry. I would give the role to the guy who could do it and do it better, and he's conservative enough that RJ could probably dominate in the scoring aspect of his game, and 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 I'm not diminishing his role because I think it's super valuable. I think you could be a star and it be centered around the defensive end. The fact that he can give you offense and 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 it's not he's good offensively as well. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
undervalue his offense. I just think his calling card is on the defensive end. So
I just don't see Wiggins being a star. I just think you need a proven star in this league. And I think that he might become one. But we got people on this team that might become one, So I just think if you're going to spend that type of money, um, I would want someone a bit more proven. But I like Wiggins and what he brings, especially on the defensive end and the length that he has.
the real
But
world, we coming to you, bro.
yeah, yep. Hello
You,
there.
you live, brother.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Correct,
sir.
man.
What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? Shout outs
Pretty
to the
good.
fam.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to quickly come on here and ask a real question. Wouldn't y'all feel like if all right, we make the trade for Donovan Mitchell, wouldn't people feel like this is the most talented team that he played for?
I would,
Hmm.
but
Potentially.
that's because I value Randall.
All right. But all
Potentially.
right, another question. I just want to play this out right quick.
Mhm.
I look at Mitchell Robinson as a Rudy Gobert 2.0
Mm.
because I'm gonna tell you why. Because he could guard the three line, the three ball. And that was Rudy Gobert worst, pretty much worst aspect of his game. Granted, I know he can't shoot or he claimed he could shoot or whatever, but we don't really need him necessarily to shoot. We just need him to play D and be in the dunker spot. And his strength is offensive rebounding. Best in the league, offensive rebounding. Randall. Then we have Jalen Brunson, which would be the best point guard that he's played with, as in Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett.
Or anybody on that team.
You feel me? So I don't understand why people, if Donovan Mitchell was one in the, and not to mention IQ, which who we call this, he could be a six man. Wouldn't he be a 6-man candidate? If we could put him like in a Jordan Clarkson role, and he was a 6-man in Utah. So why would the Jazz be number one? And if he come to the Knicks, we would only make the play in. Now that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I would say that you're looking at our players at their very best. And I think our players have question marks. I don't think people would agree that Mitchell is a Rudy Gobert. I don't. I think he has the potential to be. I don't see Mitch out there guarding the 3-point line. I think he did that when he was his first year in the league. He was definitely a bit more agile than he is now. I think he's not as good on the perimeter as he once was.
But I feel like that's because he was hurt. And
Okay.
he was
I mean, I
was
hear
a
what you're
little
saying.
heavy.
I hear what you're saying.
There's no
I'm
way
just
he could
saying I don't think
there's no
he's
way he
at
could
the level
digress like
of
that.
Rudy Gobert just yet. That's all. I'm just saying that I don't think
All right,
so.
so potentially he could be a Rudy Gobert, which I feel like towards the end of the season he was getting better offensively and defensively. Then Randall, if you wanna, Randall always gonna put up 20 and 10. And the best point guard Randall played with will be Lonzo Ball, right? Or he also played with Drew Holiday, and people feel like he can't play with a point guard, but those is 2 point guards. So I don't understand like I get it. He
Those
had a
was
bad
different.
season.
It's not even that with Randall. You got to remember his role was very different on those teams. So I think the concern that fans have is that having facilitated the offense, will he be willing, not able, but willing to put the genie back in the bottle and just go back to playing power forward when he's had a year or two experience of facilitating the offense? I think he will, but I think the question is fair. Would he be willing to do that?
Now let me ask you one more question, a little caveat to that.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle's biggest problem was he didn't know how to pass out of a double team, right? Now that we got
one of his problems.
One of his
problems.
We probably all have a different. We probably all have a worse. His biggest problem is probably gonna be different. Everybody who has.
Because I don't think that. I don't know if that was the.
But for a real question would be, who can they double off of now? If he killed everybody,
that's a fair point.
1-on-1. He's a great 1-on-1 player. He even a great double team player. But it's when the triple team come. I ain't gonna say the double team. Like
I hope you in a sheltered place now. You giving Randall all of these props. I hope you ain't. I hope you're not outside.
Randall didn't play. I want Obi Toppin to start. To be honest, I don't care about Randall. But this is a real question. If Randall is talented, everybody can say what they want. He's still a walking double, 20 easy. And I know that nobody could double off of him, probably RJ Barrett, but RJ Barrett has proven that if he's open, he can make a shot. Brunson proven if he's open, he can make a shot. These is people that if Donovan Mitchell here, I don't see nobody that could double team. If they double team, it's gonna be from Mitchell Robinson in the dunker spot. That's a lob every time. You don't gotta have vision to do that. I can do that. Right. Anywhere near the rim.
Which is why I have the Knicks in the top 6 if Donovan Mitchell comes. But I still have concerns about.
But why?
That's the playoffs.
He went top 4.
Not. I feel like. I don't even feel like because I just feel like that because if Donovan Mitchell was one, he was one. Utah. He was one in Utah in the West.
But it was a different conference. Though look at the Eastern Conference. You're gonna put the Knicks. You're gonna put
the strongest conference is the Western Conference.
Not anymore. You're gonna put the. I don't think so.
You think the East is stronger than the West?
This past year they were.
Yeah.
This past year they were.
Yeah. So you're gonna
look at the records of the teams that made the playoffs and who didn't, and that's pretty much the best way.
I can't say that because people were injured. The Nuggets injured, Lakers injured. Like it was top teams. Clippers injured.
Well, that's why the East was better.
I get what y'all saying, but even before that, the Utah Jazz was still a top 3 team.
I hear what you're saying, and I love the optimism.
Even
with Donovan Mitchell, I'm not putting them above Milwaukee. I'm not putting them above who.
Miami, Milwaukee.
Miami. Who else? Philly, and Boston. There was one other team in the top, and Boston.
All right, so I'm asking one more question. So, is this Knicks team, if we was to trade for Donovan Mitchell from I see like all right, I see every possible trade it could be. Let's say hypothetically we were to trade Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier, I seen Cam Reddish and a Deuce McBride and 4 picks. I don't even care if it's 5 picks, to be honest, because we gonna be good those 5 years. That's how I look at it.
Listen, if you're
I don't
right,
feel like we coming down. I don't feel
somebody
like
said top four. So then what's the problem? So what's the problem with the package? If then you don't even need another star. If we're gonna be top four and championship contenders, why are we complaining
but
about the package?
that's
I
not
don't
the
think
question.
we will be, which is why
The
I feel
question
like we need
is,
to have
Hey,
something
would
less.
we be better
Is it-
than the Jazz?
And there's one thing I know about getting that 4th seed. That'll mean nothing the next year.
Nah, it don't. First, it don't never mean nothing. If once we get to the playoffs, it's a whole different ball game. But we know Donovan Mitchell is proven in the playoffs. Number one
You
option. He
speaking to
never
the
played.
choir
He
over here.
never.
Talk to
I think
Tony.
the highest, the best talent, the best talented person that dropped points for Donovan Mitchell was Jordan Clarkson. That's real talk. I can't even. You can't make it up.
Bogdanovich averaged 18 at least one year.
It don't. If he can average 20, Brunson can average 20. These are all people that average 20 is what I'm saying. How can people
I agree.
say that we would be still making a plan? That just don't add up to me.
Nah, who said that though?
I put our ceiling. I put our floor at the AC. That was our floor. That's a worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. If there's chemistry issues and things like that.
I think we lost them.
Okay.
I'm put him in the background. See if he come back.
All right.
I love the optimism. Yeah, he's back, and I love the fact that we could get a guy who wants Obi to start, but can still speak the truth about Randall. Appreciate that.
But I see Obi put.
All right. We appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate it. Well, I mean, this is similar to the show we did Monday on the Queen's Court. What's the floor and what's the ceiling with or without Donovan Mitchell? People in the chat talking about facts. But when we start talking about that package, though, if because to me, if Donovan puts you in the top four, championship contender, what's the problem? The reason I'm saying, he doesn't, and so we got to have something left over for another star. If he's making you a championship contender, throw the bag because you don't need another star if you really believe in it like that. I'm not sure I believe in it like that.
And Queen, that's what I was saying from the beginning. If you think he's the guy and it's not like we got to find somebody better than him afterwards. Yeah, do it by all means.
Do it.
But if you feel like he's the gateway to the next guy, it's like you've been saying, we can't leave the cupboards bare.
No doubt.
Can't you know what I mean? We have to leave ourselves in position to move forward.
Right.
So it's really about where you stand.
Right.
So that's his ceiling, 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah. And listen,
that's not bad.
We threw up the Eastern Conference on the Queen's Court Monday. There's always somebody that falls out. Toronto can fall out of the top 6. Who else was in the top 6? Miami, a lot of things went right for Miami when their players got hurt. Strauss and all of them guys was able to step up and play big minutes for them, and they were able to win, not lose a lot of ground when they had those injuries with Bam and what have you. Who's to say it's going to be the same this year? Chicago got injured. They fell, I think, out of the top 6. They might move in. So I still think there's going to be a lot of movement. And it's not like those top 6 from last season is solidified, So I think the Knicks can move into the top 6. I just don't think, I think without Donovan Mitchell, to move into the top 6, everything would have to break right. Everything.
Yeah, Toronto could definitely. I mean, I feel like any team could slide. Any team could fall off. It's chemistry issues. Um, I mean, Miami was good without. My bad. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
They was good without PJ Tucker, but I wouldn't discount them losing a step with him being gone. So I think that could affect them.
Mm-hmm.
As good as Boston was making it to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
there was a portion of the season. Matter of fact, when RJ hit that game winner, I want to say we were damn near neck and neck as far as record, as far as positioning, as far
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they went on their run from that game on. Like we spearheaded their, you know what I mean, their
Mm-hmm.
run to the finals. So that could easily have flip flopped. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially considering we started a 3-17 stretch
Mm-hmm.
after
Mm-hmm.
that win. So I mean, anything anything can happen, but
Right.
we
Right.
being logical.
Kerry Cox says, with Donovan, Boston, Philly, Bucks, and Cavs are still better than us. I don't know about the Cavs now. I would agree. Boston. I would definitely say that the Bucks. Philly, Boston, okay, because you gotta take into account that teams have been playing together for a long time. And so the Knicks have to find their chemistry, and these guys will probably hit the ground running. Um, I would say out of that, maybe the Cavs, if we get Donovan Mitchell, I'm not so sure. I would have to look at their roster, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, and you got to put Miami above the Cavs, even though I ain't scared of Miami. I just think we match up well against them. I feel like that that rivalry really never died. You know what I mean? It was just dormant. It was just sleeping. But I think that was always there.
You
Nah,
always
it's
agree.
it's the it's the tints and the glasses.
No, I think it's that you're getting lower and lower and
Oh
lower and
oh
lower.
oh! Am I? It's my couch, man. This joint is comfortable.
All right, we're gonna let the real walk come in just for another minute to give a take, and then we're gonna move on to other things.
Yo, hello, can y'all?
We hear you.
Yeah, we
Alright,
hear you. I did
okay,
your
okay.
video and your audio is not. Let me tell you, we audio and video snobs here on NBK. All right, we're gonna
Yeah.
let you rock right now. We
Wait,
just
so
hear
my
you.
background is loud?
The
No,
background
no,
is black.
no. Your visual is black, but we
Your
hear you
visual is
fine.
black, but we can hear you.
All right. But I just wanted to touch on the so I'm okay with trading more picks if we include less players. I
Okay.
don't know if everybody agree with me on that, but
We went over
the
that at
one
nauseum.
one one thing, but one thing I know Leon Rose could do is get extra picks.
No.
If one thing is not proven, he proved that. And I also feel like we always stuck in that middle area, sort of like the limbo. We not good enough to get a top 4 pick, but we not good enough. We bad enough to be in a lottery. Some weird mixture of that. I just feel more comfortable with trading the picks. If we gonna win, let's win. If we gonna lose, can we please lose? I don't want to be in the middle. That's the worst place to be.
Well, if we're gonna lose, we don't want to lose with after making that trade.
No, that too. I do agree with you, but I don't see us lose. We got a point guard now, and that's a big that's a big thing, and we got a serviceable point guard that show up. that we know is gonna play hard. And I get the backcourt gonna be small, but if we could have a top 10 defense with Evan Fournier, why can't we have a top 10 defense with Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson?
Fair.
I think
And
they're
another
both better defenders than the guys they're replacing.
and then Donovan Mitchell played good defense. When he first came into the league, he was playing good defense.
Right.
People don't
Maybe
take that into
because
account. He
right,
probably didn't
maybe
even want to be there. He loves New York. He's a New Yorker.
right. And it could be also that he was being asked to do a lot offensively the more he was in the league. And in New York, he won't be asked to do as much offensively.
Like I don't get me wrong. Like I was hating Randall last year, but I know for a fact he's good, and this will be the best team he played for, and I'm pretty sure he could thrive in this role. And I get we want to have Obi Toppin, but for real, I want to see Obi Toppin to be real with you. If we don't get Donovan Mitchell, I would love if Obi Toppin could shoot enough to play the three.
It's about defend enough. If
But
he
I
could
feel like
defend enough to play
he's
the
getting
three,
better and better defensively.
I'm just saying if he could play well enough on the defensive end to play the three, I think Tibbs will live with mistakes offensively.
So, all right, so let me ask you one more question. Is he a better defender than Evan Fournier?
No.
Toppin,
Yeah.
he's capable of doing things that Fournier isn't, but defensive IQ and positioning and just like toughness defensively, no.
But one thing we know we don't have to question about Obi is his heart.
Really?
I don't. Yeah. You question that?
He doesn't come across to me as a tough guy. He don't come across to me like
I'm not gonna say he tough, but I'm saying he gonna bring that. He gonna bring it every day.
He gonna
energy wise, absolutely.
No energy wise, no doubt about it, no question about it. He's gonna bring the energy every night.
And the reason he not tough like that because he from New York, but let's keep it a stack. He played basketball. People look out for people that play basketball. If he not tough, I'm pretty sure he knows some tough people.
But that ain't helping him on the basketball court, though.
No, I'm not saying
Call my goons.
but I feel like when we actually played him and put Julius on the bench, if that didn't open your eyes and be like, wow, he got some talent. It don't even matter how much, like we don't even get to see it. His leash is so short. Who fears the dog on the leash? Nobody.
Like I've always said,
we fear the dog.
Let's see next season. I'm not getting excited over anybody. And this is not just Obi. This is Grimes, all of these guys that's playing secondary positions, secondary roles. Sure, when they get more time, they could flourish. They could fall right on their face. No way. There's no way to know.
I'm okay with not making a trade. I don't want to overpay as in young talent, but I'm cool to overpay with draft picks.
That's fair enough.
All right, fair enough. Appreciate you.
All right, I appreciate y'all.
All right,
Salute.
All right.
The real Walt NYC.
Appreciate you.
What else we got on the next topic?
Well, we kind of touched on the floor ceiling. With basically with Donovan Mitchell. And I think the last thing is we talked about this last night on Dope Soul Sports Talk. Is it a foregone conclusion that Brunson will be successful in New York during his time here? Is there a scenario in which you could see him not succeeding? And I can see a scenario in which he doesn't succeed. I could see a scenario in which he doesn't get off to a great start. The Knicks fans turn on him. The offense is not geared properly, and so that he struggles a little bit because the paint is clogged up and he doesn't have the room he really needs to operate. And I'm talking about with Donovan Mitchell not here. Randall imploding. I could see not necessarily where he would fold. I don't think he would ever fold. And I think he would always come out and give his best effort. But I mean, in terms of it not working, where the team is just not better because he's here. I could see that scenario playing out. I don't think that's the most likely scenario, but I could see a world in which that happens.
Yeah, I don't see it. Maybe I don't want to, but I do not. I don't see it because I think he makes the world of difference by himself. Um, Now I could see him struggling numbers wise, and the team actually playing better. So if that's included in your
The team playing better with him struggling.
meaning he's not averaging 20 plus points a
Oh
game.
yeah, I'm not even
You,
thinking
you know
about
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or his percentages dip some, but I think he still could bring things to the table. I think his value is more than just basketball and
Hmm.
stats. You know what I mean? Like I think he brings
Hmm.
a certain steadiness to the team that isn't going to change whether he's playing well or not. Let's say
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
So it's gonna. I think he stabilizes us. So I can see his numbers, his production, maybe not even taking a step up and taking a step down, but the team success being better. So does if that counts as him struggling, yeah.
I'm not even talking about the numbers. I think his numbers may not, be the same. Um,
I think he's gonna impact winning no matter what.
we hope. There's a world. I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's a world in which we don't get Donovan. Brunson comes here, and the Knicks don't become who we think they're going to become. It's possible. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Likely, you asked me to put money on it. I would not put money on that scenario. I would put money on, Donovan Mitchell. Excuse me, Jalen Brunson making the team better. But we got to also keep in mind this is his first time being a full time point guard of a team where there's no Luca. You know what I mean? So um again, I think he can do it. I called for him even before he became available. I wanted Brunson. But I do see a world in which it doesn't work out, you know?
Mm. Shout out to Sim. He says concerned about how his connection he has impacts to other players. What do they feel and think about it? Um, the reason
Mhm.
the reason I'm not as concerned is it's already been the mo of the organization. These past 2 years, right? So even granted, it wasn't anyone's father, but we've seen guys brought in with connections to the players already, right? We've seen the Kentucky connections with Randall. We've seen the, potential connection if Donovan comes with Johnny Bryant. Um, we've seen Rose and Taj connected to Tibbs. So if anything, if I'm a player, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as the Knicks continue to do what they've been doing. The fact that there's a history, I would be less concerned. Now, granted, if this was Brunson's first coaching stint, I would be looking at it a little bit funny if I'm a teammate. But knowing that he has the history, even Brunson has the history prior to, I think it would be less concerning. But I there's a small percentage that it could. I'll say this: it could affect one player maybe more than it affect the team.
I think that potential is there, if because the other situations you mentioned are true, but not to this level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're bringing somebody in whose father is on the coaching staff. So now you got an issue with the coaching staff, and you in that locker room. Are you saying anything with Brunson in there, knowing that his dad is on the coaching staff, knowing that you know um, his father excuse me, his godfather runs the team, knowing that Tibbs knew him since he was a baby. So there may be certain things that in a locker room you would let off, that with him around you might not. That being said, I
That's a
think,
problem.
but but that's human nature. I'm not, if your father is coaching the team, Tony, and we're on the same team, and I come in the locker room and he pulled me out the game and I'm pissed. If you're not there, I'm gonna let it out. If you're there now, I might be like, I don't really want to say anything. What? And now you get a lot of things not being said, um, that can creep in and impact chemistry. This is worst case scenario. That being said, I think Brunson has an opportunity, and he's smart enough to know this, that when he comes in, he has to show that I'm one of y'all. You understand? He's going to have to build those individual relationships with those players and let them know, listen, even though my father's on the coaching staff, even though my godfather can ship any one of y'all out, even though I knew Tibbs since whatever, I'm down with y'all. You know what I mean? And because otherwise, they're not going to feel comfortable saying certain things around him because it might get back to his godfather. You understand what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see how they bond as a team, because I think that can be a sticking point.
I agree. My only issue with that's not on Brunson, and that's not on the organization. That's on the individual. That's why I put it on the individual more than the team. Now it can start with the individual and then snowball into
When you say it's with the individual, what do you mean?
because you got to be able to say what you got to say regardless whether
Nah,
Brunson's in the room or not.
nah.
That's the way I feel.
There could be consequences to that. You understand what I'm saying? So the safety is an issue. Of
What,
course,
what kind?
be Brad.
How vulgar in the comment, or like, can you give me an example
It's not about
of
being.
something?
It's
No,
not
I'm
about.
saying I say that because I want to know if you can give me an example. Maybe it's too
Sure.
vulgar for
No, 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 no. I don't even think it's. I don't. It's not even what's said. Is that the locker room is a band of brothers and sisters. You guys are connected. You know, if you have a issue with the coaching staff, that's aired out in the locker room all the time.
mm-hmm.
And then people will come and they'll either agree with you or they'll try to calm you down and try to help you through it or whatever. If this, I haven't, I played on a team actually where my best friend, we were both on the team together. She was my best friend on the team, and her sister became the head coach our sophomore season. We were still friends, but there were certain things that I felt about her sister as the coach of the team that I did not feel comfortable sharing with her, even though she was a good friend of mine. That's her sister.
Did it was it detrimental to the locker room, or was it something that potentially needed to be said but you couldn't say? Because that's the way I'm looking at it. If it's that important, it's team first regard, no matter what. So if I gotta say it, I'm not gonna not say it because that's your dad. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna not say it because your godfather is. If anything, I feel like I'm gonna say it more. Now, granted, if if
There could be consequences to it, though.
absolutely. Now, if it becomes a situation where I say something, and now I'm like, oh wait, the only way Coach would know that, or the only way Leon would know that, is if it came from this. That changes things completely because now the trust is gone.
And
But
that's possible. Can
that is
happen.
possible. But I'm not gonna not give the opportunity for you to break the trust because I'm scared you're gonna break it. You know what I mean? I'm still gonna be,
It's subtle.
because
It's more
that's
subtle
more
than that.
dangerous. And that's what I was saying about it's on that individual. You gotta go with it and live with the punches. You can't.
When you're,
I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
say it's like scared money don't make
nah.
money. That's the way I think.
Well, it depends on it depends. If you a star and you have a contract already, whatever, you negotiating this from a totally different position than if you a rookie on the team. You understand what I'm saying? So I think there's levels to it. I'm just agreeing with Sim that there's potential issues. I'm not saying it will be, but you walk into a locker room with a guy that's plugged in, not just to the coach, but to his father who's on the coaching staff, and he's plugged into the general manager as well. You're gonna have to earn my trust. There's certain things I'm not gonna be talking about with you.
And I also think, especially with the coach, he's gonna get coached a little bit different than the rest of the team, but not in
They
a
have
in,
to do
not in
that.
not in a special treatment way. You know what I mean? It's
They
gonna be
have to do that.
the opposite. So
The opposite. They have to do that to earn the respect of the other players, to make sure that they know that they're not playing favorites.
I mean, I think that's gonna help in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, but it's gonna be some skepticism out there. You know, some people. Oh, Brunson coming, Brunson coming. You know, maybe for the first
I don't.
for the
It
first
can get
you
to
know what I
that
mean? For the
level. I don't.
first week or two. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
this goes.
Right. Um. It's not. We're not talking about accountability, Albert Grant. We're not talking about accountability. I agree with you. You know, the coaching staff is going to make sure they hold him, if anything, to a higher standard. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how comfortable are you in that locker room with Brunson, at least initially, knowing how plugged in he is to the coach. His father's on the coaching staff, and his godfather is the general manager of the team. I'm not talking about accountability. Two separate things.
Do you think that would need to be addressed from the beginning?
Nah. Even if you address it,
Or if it is addressed, do you think it's a bad look?
I don't think it's anything to address. It's a feel. It's an energy thing. It's a it's hard to explain. If you've been in a locker room, and I'm sure you have.
I've been in that exact situation.
Yeah.
Playing the exact same position as the son. So
Okay.
I know more than anybody, but I also was 13 years old. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it from my 40-year-old brain as a compared to my 13-year-old brain,
Right.
where I thought everything was biased.
Right. Yeah.
I agree with that too. The boundaries, and I think that is a stickier situation.
Right. Brunson shouldn't be privy to anything that other players aren't privy to. That's going to be hard. That's your dad, Thanksgiving dinner, Sunday dinners or whatever it is.
Or even worse, God forbid somebody says something to the coach and didn't say something to the rest of the players, and then somehow
he got out.
We're like, coach, man, I told you that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you bring out a good point. They may just be going on faith until something like that happens.
That's how I have to. That's how I would play it. I'm not saying it's not possible,
right?
Because it definitely is,
right.
But I can't go into the situation with that on my mind, because that's detrimental from the jump, as opposed to give everybody.
You're just being a little weary. You're not closed off altogether. You just aware. just aware, you know? Yeah, I mean, shout out Ashley Inc. One, Anthony A. Locker room dynamics is critical to a team's ultimate success. I mean, I've seen teams who didn't have a good locker room still win because the talent was just overwhelming. But if that's not the case, locker room dynamics can pull a team apart, and so now you're not really operating on the court the way you could optimally.
And but to this point, it can go the other way around. A less talented team with chemistry and camaraderie could beat a more talented team that isn't on the same page. Now, what do you think about this? Is another thing, and I didn't think about this. Does Brunson Senior, the dad, does he get to coach? Does he get to have the approach that because I go at my son this hard, I can go at you this hard? Because that may be a part where it gets tricky.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I
He
am a
might
firm
go at him
believer that
harder.
no, but what I'm saying is I expect it to be harder towards Brunson. But if he has that excuse to where, listen, I didn't even go at you as hard as I went at Brunson, but it still be, you know what I mean? Because it's lower than what he's going at the way he's going at his son. That doesn't mean it's perceived that way by the next player. You know what I mean? He can still be like, I don't care what you said to your son. You was out of line with me right now.
Right.
You know
That's
what I mean?
possible too.
And that's so. I
That's
mean,
possible. That's
that's
true.
concerning.
Yeah, DJ, I would say this is just another level because it's not just father son. There are other elements. I think this is another
Yeah, it's a
level.
family. You said the Godfather, the God brother, the
Tibbs may not have a title, but he in there somewhere. You know, he knew him since he was a baby. You know,
he been coach. He been coach.
right? Anything? I know you didn't get a chance to see the interview when James Hanson of Utah Hoops Nerd on the
Still Knicks
NBA
fans.
report with Ron and John from Still Nick fans. I mean, I don't think he said anything. And shout out to James Hanson for his time. I don't think he said anything we didn't already know that Mitchell was good from the beginning. Basically, in terms of a basketball player, he wasn't somebody like you waiting to peak. You saw it from the beginning, and he's just gotten better. I think he believes that he's a star and that he's a really good guy. Man, I think we knew that already. Always involved in the community, not doing it, just for clicks or for notoriety or publicity. That he's genuinely a a good guy. So I thought that was a good interview, and that fan base understands, why they're moving on from Utah. They understand why that they have to build through the draft. It was a really good interview, actually, but not the real uncle. Yeah, yeah, a lot of those.
Uncle
Yeah,
Tibbs.
yeah, Uncle Tibbs.
That actually sounds about right. Like it flows.
Right. Anything else before we get out of here?
I think I'm ready for my 3 days off.
Oh, good for you. Good for
Oh no
you.
no. We on tomorrow. We on tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we on tomorrow
I
on
I
on.
I meant the podcast and not my real job.
Oh, right. Oh, I was about to say you got 3 days off. That's great. Um, yeah, put in that work. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as far as podcasting is concerned, and then for the most part, you have that 4-day week until Monday. But that's not the case this week. We will be on Dope Soul Sports Talk tomorrow, Thursday, 9:30 p.m., talking about whether Knicks YouTube content creators are really the new ESPN, or or the new media. Do you really need to plug into the national media or even the local media to find out what's going on with the New York Knicks? Can you get all of the information you need from the underground, so to speak, from the Nick YouTube content creators? And since I've been a part of this community for the past year, that's how I get my news.
From the
Really.
Podfather himself.
Yeah. I mean, there's print media as well, but not really mainstream um, news media, really. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow, 9:30. And really I have 7 content creators on, including myself, and really talk about what was their motivation for starting the channel, where would they like to see this go, and do they see over time um, more, I wouldn't say the demise of mainstream media, but these platforms becoming more important and more plugged in, and more utilized more for the fan base than national media. So we're going to talk about all of that tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. on Dope Soul Sports Talk. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button. You'll be notified anytime I go live or drop a video on that channel. And for this channel, Nothing But Nick, shout out to Sim. Appreciate you. Forever grateful. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, Nothing But Knicks, please do so. We got you covered for all your Knicks needs. We got the crossover. We got Queen's Court. We got the controversy with Uncle Fulio. We got the NBA report with Ron and John from Still Nick fans. And then, of course, we got International Andy now, right? Who has his show and he drops videos as well. And then we have Sim, the creator of the channel, who does a pregame and postgame from every Knicks game, pregame, even the summer league games, and then also drops videos in the shoot around. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We on pretty much, I don't know, 4 or 5 days a week here on the NBK
We'll
network.
find one of us.
You'll find one of us for
Shout out to
sure.
the chat. Ashley, I would not let Tibbs babysit my child. I can hear him now, but she, baby, baby. So no, I'm good on that. Probably terrify the kid. But yeah, shout out to the chat. Appreciate you. Shout out to Sim, the Podfather. Queen, it's always a pleasure.
Always.
I'll be a little bit late tomorrow, but I will be on.
Mm-hmm.
So save me a spot. If I gotta come off the bench, it's all good. And your blackest time.